Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
Breaking: huge star just cancelled Israel concert to send Trump a message, will you boycott her? It is frankly pathetic that liberal entertainers actually think that they can influence global policy just by acting like divas. However, this crowd recently sprung into action in the wake of President Donald Trump announcing that America recognizes that Jerusalem is Israel's capital and pledging to move our embassy in Israel there. Many left-wing actors and singers have spoken out against the move, the most recent being 21-year-old pop singer Lorde, who is not even an American. The New Zealand native, best known for the hit single Lorde, apparently caved to pressure from an anti-Israel group called Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions, BDS, and decided to cancel her upcoming concert in Tel Aviv, Israel. Said the singer about her decision, "I've received an overwhelming number of messages and letters and have had a lot of discussions with people holding many views, and I think the right decision at this time is to cancel the show." Thankfully, the backlash against the best-selling singer was swift, as people were clearly unwilling to support someone taking such an extreme anti-Israel stance. Commented Roseanne Barcutley on her Twitter account, "Boycott the spigot." Said one commenter on Lorde's Facebook page in response, "Anyone that will play in Russia and not play in Israel based on alleged human rights concerns is either ignorant or anti-Semitic." Added another, to recap, "Artist from country built on colonialism and land theft has zero qualms playing in Russia or the Vatican, but refuses to play in a state built by a returning indigenous people. Do you think Lorde deserves to be boycotted for this?" Breaking: the worst Democrat in Congress got caught calling her staffers stupid motherfuckers. If one thing is certain in the current tumultuous state of American politics, it is that there are no shortage of Democrats who would warrant being called the worst Democrat in Congress. Congresswomen Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi, of course, come to mind. This honor, however, belongs to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas, who recently generated fresh bad press by forcing American Airlines to bump a school teacher out of a first-class seat so that she could sit there instead. According to people who have worked for her, Rep. Lee treats her own employees just as badly as she did this teacher. According to a report, Rep. Lee repeatedly calls each of her workers a stupid motherfucker. These are apparently not isolated incidents. An ex-staffer said that this happened all the time. One more former worker recalled when her parents paid a visit to the nation's capital. Said the ex-staffer, "They were really excited to come to the congressional office. They're small-town people, so for them it was a huge deal. They were actually sitting in the main lobby waiting area. Rep. Lee came out screaming at me over a scheduling change. Called me a stupid idiot. Don't be a moron, you foolish girl, and actually did this in front of my parents, of all things." Another former employee talked about how she called Rep. Lee to ask for a meeting to learn how she could best serve her. Sheila apparently replied, before hanging up, "What? What did you say to me? Who are you, the congresswoman? You haven't been elected. You don't set up meetings with me. I tell you. You know what? You are the most unprofessional person I have ever met in my life. Do you think Sheila Lee is the worst Democrat in Congress?" Government arts agency gave $50,000 to lib who says Christians have shockingly irrational beliefs. Back in the 1990s, then Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich brought to light the fact that American taxpayers, through the National Endowment for the Arts, were paying for unhinged artists to create works of art like Piss Christ, a photograph in which a crucifix was submerged in the artist's own urine. Thankfully, some oversight has been brought on these government agencies, although that appeared to have gone lax during the 8 years that Democrat Barack Obama was in office. The Washington Free Beacon's Liz Harrington recently studied the budgets of the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities, and found out that Americans are paying a liberal professor named Eric Mandelbaum to perform research on how Christians' religious beliefs are somehow irrational. The National Endowment for the Humanities is giving this City University of New York professor $50,000 to write a book titled Propaganda and Belief in the Modern World. In a 2015 paper, the professor expressed disbelief that 74% of American adults believe in God, 72% believe in miracles, 68% believe in heaven, 57% believe in the virgin birth. He then added, as if it were a bad thing, as of May 2014, 22 to 28% of Americans believe that the Bible is the actual Word of God, and is to be taken literally word for word. He then said, idiotically, people hold shockingly irrational beliefs. Do you think it's awful Americans are giving money to a man who thinks we're shockingly irrational for being Christians? NBC's Chuck Todd just made a brutal prediction about Nancy Pelosi. Do you think he's right? One thing that Republicans and Democrats can both agree on is that outsider President Donald Trump has succeeded during his first year in office at shaking things up in Washington, D.C. Right now, the same congressional leadership is in place in both parties as was at the beginning of Trump's presidency. However, political pundit Chuck Todd of NBC's Meet the Press predicted that there will be a major overhaul by 2019. Specifically, Todd claimed on his show that both House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will still be in leadership positions by 2019. He also said that elderly House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi will finally be stripped of her leadership role by that year, as well. Pelosi has served in leadership roles consistently since Bill Clinton's presidency. Todd predicted that only Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer will still be in a leadership position. Commented Todd, McConnell and Ryan can spike the football. Reactions were mixed to Todd's predictions. Stated one internet commenter in agreement, first off, Pelosi is starting to talk with herself at the podium, and McConnell's goiter is starting to absorb him into itself, kind of like the blob. In fact, I expect McConnell's face to be completely absorbed by MLK Day. Another hit back at liberal Todd, however, and wrote, sure whatever you say Todd. Like ... there is no road to 270 or the stocks markets will tank if Trump is elected. Their track record for predicting the future speaks for itself. Do you think Chuck's prediction is right, or is he off base? New York Times writer just said Trump supporters are terrorized toadies. A liberal New York Times writer named Roger Cohen spent his Christmas Day coming up with one of the most ridiculous anti-Trump screeds to have ever even appeared in that notoriously anti-Trump newspaper. Cohen called the White House of President Donald Trump Turkmenistan on the Potomac and then claimed that Trump's backers are terrorized toadies. Wrote Roger, if this is America, with a cabinet of terrorized toadies genuflecting to the great leader, a vice president offering a compliment every 12 seconds to Mussolini's understudy, and a White House that believes in alternative facts, then it is time to keep your head when all about you are losing theirs. Cohen then got mad at Republicans for liking a Republican president, as if Republicans are not allowed to admire others in their own party. He wrote, if this is America, less than a year into the Trump presidency, yes, if this is still America, where Representative Diane Black, Republican of Tennessee, thanks the great leader for allowing us to have you as our president, and Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah, says Trump's will be the greatest presidency maybe ever. He then tried to use George Orwell to accuse Trump of being a Nazi, saying, if this is America, where the great leader wants you to believe that 2 + 2 = 5, and would usher you down his rabbit hole, and struggles to find in himself unequivocal condemnation of neo-Nazis. Roger, who is not originally from the United States, concluded by insulting America under Trump as just a squalid, oversized, Greedy plays past the zenith of its greatness. Are you disgusted by these non-stop attacks on Trump and people who like him and support him? Reno Bill Kristol is spreading a brand new lie about Trump without anything to back it up. One of the worst developments in the political establishment's prolonged effort to discredit outsider President Donald Trump is the fact that establishment Republicans have been perhaps even nastier toward Trump than Democrats. In yet another example of how Republicans in name only have been smearing Trump, so-called conservative Bill Kristol, who is editor-at-large at the Weekly Standard, recently baselessly asserted that the president is working to shut down special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. This is despite the fact that Trump has stated very clearly several times that he has no intention of doing so. Said Kristol to host Andrea Mitchell during a recent appearance on MSNBC's Andrea Mitchell Reports, "The president hates the investigation. He fears it, and he wants to shut it down or curb it as much as he can." Kristol of course cited no evidence for why this is true. He went on, "It may be that he intends to fire Mueller. Trump is trying systematically to discredit the FBI, and he's doing so by attacking individuals, by attacking the whole organization, by saying the whole thing is a witch hunt. I think he fears it and wants to end it as much as he can." Kristol also took the opportunity to knock Republicans who actually support our Republican president. Claimed Bill absurdly, "They're being used by the president. They're playing into the president's hands. They're being allies to the president in something that I think will do a lot of damage to the country. I think the president knows he has something to worry about and is doing his best to fight back." Do you think Kristol deserves to get kicked out of the Republican Party? And Coulters shared what her Christmas wish is. "It's controversial, do you agree with her?" Christmas time gave Americans a chance to unwind and think back on the eventful year that was 2017. A great deal of good was accomplished by Republican President Donald Trump to point our wayward country back in the right direction. However, conservative commentator Ann Coulter clearly was not satisfied with everything that was and was not accomplished this past year. During a recent interview with Alex Marlow on Breitbart Radio, Coulter shared what her Christmas wish was for the country. Said Coulter to Alex, "It has to be said that many of the legal and illegal low-wage workers, they're incredibly hard workers, they're really nice people, and it occurred to me, that I actually like all of the illegal immigrants except the dreamers. They're the ones I want deported first because they're the activists." The always controversial pundit continued, "They're the obnoxious ones. They're the ones who go to congressional offices and stamp their feet and say, 'How dare you not rush to grant us amnesty?' Whereas the other illegals don't have the time to be protesting, they're busy working, being polite, being so friendly and nice and saying, 'Merry Christmas.' No. Let's start by deporting the dreamers. That's point one." Coulter added harsh words about Democrats' obsession with diversity and shared what she feels is the big problem with the diversity argument. Said Ann, "The more multi-ethnic a society becomes, people stop voting on their social interests, their economic interests, they vote on their ethnic group, and I think that's what the Democrats are counting on." Do you agree with Ann?